Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikaracharya Storasha Shishimati Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 39. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one shall offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan unto non-Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. Nasprayesu abhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And love in service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna jana sitaka Tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta Nanyatra sajatyata atma pata Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna janaksyate Tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta Nanyatra sajatyata atma pata Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva Atma yata swapna janak sataika Tam satyam ananda nityam bhajeta Nanyatra sajatyata atma pata. Please recite. Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva The next. Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva Nanyatra sajetya apata Sa sarvadi vritti anubhuta sarva Satyamanam. Vaishnavis. Sasarvadi. What? Go ahead. Sa sarva divriti anubhuta sarva. Ayata swapna janik sateka. Tam satyamananda nidhim bhajate. Nanyatra sajayati yatra. What to word meaning? Sa, he the Supreme Person. Sarva divritti, the process of realization by all sorts of intelligence. Anubhuta, cognizant. Sarve, everyone. Atma, the super soul. Yata, as much as. Swapna jana, a person dreaming. Ikshita, seen by. Eka, one and the same. Tam, unto him. Satyam, the supreme truth. Anandanidhim, the ocean of bliss. Pajeta, must one worship. Na, never. Anyatra, anything else. Sajat, be attached. Yata, whereby. Atmapata, degradation of oneself. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Please repeat. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Purport. In this verse, the process of devotional service is indicated by the great Goswami Srila Sukadev. He tries to impress upon us that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. Self-realization is, as it were, offering a fight for eternal life against the material struggle for existence. And therefore, by the illusory grace of the external energy, the yogi or the devotee is faced with many allurements which can entangle a great fighter again in the bondage of material existence. That's a very important point. A yogi can attain miraculous successes in material achievements such as anima and lagima, by which one can become more minute than the minutest or lighter than the lightest, or in the ordinary sense one may achieve material benedictions in the shape of wealth and women. But one is warned against such allurements because entanglement again in such illusory pleasure means degradation of the self and further imprisonment in the material world. By this warning, one should follow one's vigilant intelligence only. The Supreme Lord is one, and his expansions are various. He is therefore the super soul of everything. When a man sees anything, he must know that his seeing is secondary and the Lord's seeing is primary. One cannot see anything without the Lord's having first seen it. That is the instruction of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So whatever we see or do, the super soul of all acts of seeing or doing is the Lord. This theory of simultaneous oneness and difference between the individual soul and the super soul is propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the philosophy of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. This Virat Roop, or the gigantic feature of the Supreme Lord, includes everything materially manifested, and therefore the Virat or gigantic feature of the Lord is the super soul of all living and non-living entities. But the Virat Roop is also the manifestation of Narayan or Vishnu, and going further on and on, one will eventually see that Lord Krishna is the ultimate super soul of everything that be. The conclusion is that one should unhesitatingly become a worshipper of Lord Krishna, or for that matter, his plenary expansion Narayan, and none else. In the Vedic hymns, it is clearly said that first of all Narayan cast a glance over matter, and thus there was creation. Before creation there was neither Brahma nor Shiva, and what to speak of others. Sripad Sankaracharya has definitely accepted this, that Narayan is beyond the material creation, that all others are within the material creation. The whole material creation therefore is one with and different from Narayan. Simultaneously, and this supports the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva philosophy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being an emanation from the glancing potency of Narayan, the whole material creation is none different from him. But because it is the effect of his external energy, Bahiranga Maya, and is aloof from the internal potency, Atma Maya, the whole material creation is different from him at the same time. The example given in this verse very nicely is that of the dreaming man. The dreaming man creates many things in his dream, and thus he himself becomes the entangled seer of the dream and is also affected by the consequences. This material creation is also exactly a dream-like creation of the Lord, but he, being the transcendental super soul, is neither entangled nor affected by the reactions of such a dream-like creation. He is always in his transcendental position, but essentially he is everything, and nothing is apart from him. As a part of him, one should therefore concentrate on him only, without deviation. Otherwise, one is sure to be overcome by the potencies of the material creation, one after another. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.7 as follows: Sarva Bhutani Konteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpashaya Punastani Kalpado Vrishtami Ham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. It is a means whereby one may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into his internal potency. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the second canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The First Step in God Realization. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Gopal Krishna Goswami Tinamine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastata Dasatarine Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurue Namah. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Krishna swa dhammopakate dharma jnana dibi saha kalao nastu dushame sa puranarko adono dita. This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Bhagavad Purana. So, this is we are reading from the second canto, chapter 1. Chapter 1. So, as we know that this chapter is entitled The First Step in God Realization. So, first step of God realization. The next chapter we are going to go to is going to be the chapter that is entitled Lord in the Heart. And then the next chapter after that is pure devotional service. So it is going in stages. So we have started from the first step in God realization, where Sukadev Goswami is speaking about the Virat Roop. And then we are going to go into the next chapter where Sukadev Goswami is going to speak about the Paramatma feature, and then to pure devotional service. It is very important for us to understand from the first canto how we have come to this stage. So in the previous chapters, text number 38, the question is posed by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadev Goswami. Now this is very important, because this is how the Bhagavatam starts. Because a question has been posed by Parikshit Maharaj. But what is the question? So let us again remember the question that was asked by Parikshit Maharaj, which is leading to all these answers by Sukadev Goswami. So the question was, please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me, to one. So this is a very intelligent question. And if we look at this question, it actually speaks about the 9 processes of devotional service, the arms of devotional service. Because what is Parikshit Maharaj first stating? He says, let me know what a man should hear, which is Shravanam, which is Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Then the next question he asks is, what should one chant, which is Kirtanam. And then the next question that is asked is remember and worship, which is Vishnu Smaranam, remembering, and worship of the Archa Vigraha form, or the Lord. So, if you look at the first 3 arms of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, is where the process is starting. And it starts with Shravanam. And Srila Prabhupada in his purports has very clearly indicated that Shravanam starts from the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And as we will continue speaking, Srila Prabhupada again mentions the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So, that is the way Srimad Bhagavatam starts. And then the answer that is given by Sukadev Goswami in text number 2 of this chapter is very important. So what does Sukadev Goswami say upon hearing this question that is posed by Parikshit Maharaj? He says, my dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. To all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. So then there is an approval given by Sukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj that this question is very glorious. Why? Because it is beneficial. Is it beneficial only to Americans? Is it beneficial only to Indians? Is it only beneficial to the British who ruled us? No. It is beneficial because it is for all kinds of people. So there is no barrier. Just like we go to university, in a classroom, there is people from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds. Similarly, when you're listening to this knowledge, it is for all kinds of people. It has no barriers. So this is very critical that we understand what was the question posed, what was the reply by Sukadeva Goswami, and how we are continuing to read Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Srila Prabhupada says that forgetfulness of the living entity can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Roop of the Lord. That is why the Virat Roop is actually stressed in the beginning of this chapter. Because the forgetfulness of the living entity can be counteracted by the meditation on the Virat Roop. We'll understand more as I continue speaking. Srila Prabhupada then continues to state that from meditation upon the Virat Roop, revival of his pure consciousness, revival of our pure consciousness, and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. So, by the concentration on the Virat Roop, what is happening? The tendency to forget. And forget what? Forget that Jiva Sarupa Krishna Nitya Das. That we are actually servants of the Lord. Simultaneously takes place. And as we know, why is this very important that we need to keep on remembering the Lord? Why is it very important? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata. Tyaktva deyam punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. That whoever knows my transcendental activities, after quitting his body, returns to him and doesn't come back to this miserable world. Does it say to this wonderful world, or does it say to this miserable world? It's a miserable world. So one doesn't come back to this miserable world. So this is why it is very important for us to understand why we are doing what we are doing. And further, we know that Lord Chaitanya himself says that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental love in service of Krishna. So this is the supreme instruction that is also being given to us by Patita Pavan Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That our highest perfection of life, is it to become a doctor? Is it to become an engineer? Is it to become a scientist? No. The Lord is saying that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental love in service of Krishna. Now, how is that service achieved? If there is no Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, we are not going through the 9 processes of devotional service. It's not going to happen. So Sukadev Goswami further lets us know that those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So we know that a very interesting question was posed by Parikshit Maharaj. A very glorifying answer was given by Sukadev Goswami. Then Sukadev Goswami in this chapter continues to state the other kind of people, the materialists who are not interested in the transcendental matters, what they do. That they seek knowledge in many subject matters because they need to be engaged. However, that is a waste of time because as we know, the human form of life is Bhaunam Janmanam Ante. Jnanavan Mam Prabhatyate Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudullabha. It's very dullabha. This human form of life is not meant to be wasted. We don't have. What is one thing that we do not have? We know that the Bhagavad Gita teaches us 5 subject matters. After that, even the Virat Roop has one important thing. It has eternal time in it. time. Kal is not in our hands. We are always competing with the rising and setting of the sun. The duration of life is reduced. But not for a devotee, because a devotee is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord. So the ultimate solution to the problem in life is to go back home, back to God, that Srila Prabhupada says. And the process is to hear about the Supreme Lord in His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. So again, reiterating the point of Shravanam, listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. And in fact, Sukadev Goswami, in the beginning of this chapter, also states that when he is approached, sorry, not in this chapter, in the previous canto, when he is approached by Parikshit and the rest of the assembly to give instructions, he says that I will give instructions from Srimad Bhagavatam, which was composed by my father. So, in text 10, also, it is very important what Srimad Bhagavatam says. It says, I shall recite before you. Now, this is Sukadev Goswami telling us. Before you, the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna, one who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. So now this is exact words of Sukadev Goswami. Again, speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam, the importance. But there is also a very important point that Sukadev Goswami is stating. Because you are a sincere devotee. So the process is two-way, as we know. We need to have a qualified teacher like Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, and we also have to be sincere. So, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada states in the purport to what Sukadev Goswami just stated, Srila Prabhupada says, for advancement of material knowledge, very critical point. For advancement of material knowledge, there is a need for personal ability and researching aptitude. We have a PhD here in Radha Krishna Prabhu. He will also accept that we have to have personal ability and you have to do a lot of research. Am I correct, Prabhu? Okay, but now, what does Srila Prabhupada say about spiritual knowledge? He says, in spiritual knowledge, all progress depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. So two different approaches. So in essence, what is Srila Prabhupada saying? That spiritual mercy of the spiritual advancement is made by the mercy of the spiritual master. And I will ask senior devotees like Brajapati Prabhu, Rabindranath Prabhu, who are Prabhupada disciples, Sura Prabhu. In the early days when Srila Prabhupada started the movement, how much mercy was he giving? How much tolerant was he? Were we even qualified? What do you feel? Is that not a true statement? Because we have progressed over the years. What do you feel, Brajapati Prabhu? You see? So this is Srila Prabhupada saying in his purpose, that if you want to get spiritual knowledge and progress, you need the mercy of the spiritual master. So what is he stating in essence? He's stating that by the process that we are used to, which is personal ability, that will not work on the spiritual platform. And then Srila Prabhupada continues to say in his purpose that the Virat Roop manifested was for the unintelligent class of men who accept anyone and everyone as an incarnation of the Lord and mislead the general mass of people. That is the reason the Virat Roop was shown. So the Virat Roop is simultaneously a challenge to the atheist and for the Asuras who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleanse the dirty things from their hearts in order to become qualified to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. So it's a challenge to the atheists. But is it the ultimate form that we should concentrate on? Srila Prabhupada further elaborates that materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engrossed with atomic energy and the gigantic situation of the universal form. They offer respect more seriously to the external phenomenal feature of material manifestations than to the noumenal principle of spiritual existence. Let me read that again, because this is pretty powerful. Srila Prabhupada says, materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engrossed with atomic energy and the gigantic situation of the universal form. They offer respect more seriously to the external phenomenal feature of material manifestations than to the noumenal principle of spiritual existence. So I checked in the dictionary, what does noumenal mean? So it is a thing as it is in itself, independent of the perception of the senses. So it cannot be perceived by our senses. It's noumenal. So we are trying to understand why the Virat Roop is being focused on so much. Even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions the Virat Roop. But then Srila Prabhupada says that for the devotee, they should concentrate their mind on the blissful two-handed form of Shama Sundar. So the gradual progress is coming. Shouldn't we be looking at the Virat Roop? Like Arjuna was also, what was his request? Please come back to your original two form. So Srila Prabhupada says for devotees, we need to be focused on the blissful two-handed form of Sham Sundar. So in today's purport, also Srila Prabhupada mentions about the four pious activities, which is economic development, satisfaction of the senses, pious activities, and liberation from material bondage. These are the other four that are also mentioned. But devotees do not look for economic development. Then Srila Prabhupada also mentions about the Achintya Bheda philosophy, which is the simultaneous one and different. Now, we know that also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has concluded about the Achintya Bheda philosophy. So now let's understand what is this Achintya Bheda. So Bheda means different, and Abheda means one. So Abheda means one, and Bheda means different. Achintya means what? Inconceivable. So Achintya Bheda means it's inconceivable, it is different, but it's also one. So, why is this difficult for us to understand? It should not be difficult for us to understand, because this knowledge is not meant to be understood through our mind. That's why the Bhagavatam starts with Hirdaya Adi Kavaye, that this knowledge was imparted to Brahma through the heart. So this knowledge is not a process that we have to speculate on. Now, and this is also similar in Islam. If you follow Islam, Muhammad was completely illiterate, the prophet. And he was imparted this knowledge also through the heart on the mountain when he was fasting. So, I want to read the final parts because this is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada says, by accepting difference, we can believe in our own individual existence with the right to act and choose. By accepting oneness, we can acknowledge the perfection that lies beyond all the imperfection we perceive. And then Srila Prabhupada says, only with the difference can there be a relationship, a rasa, between two objects, the soul and God. Only with difference can we relish the form, qualities, and activities of God. So the Achintya Bheda is being explained more clearly, because we know that Abheda means difference. And then, very important point is that difference, however, can put a great distance between God and the souls, that is us. But through oneness, through that process of oneness, the distance becomes meaningless and relationship between God and the soul becomes very close. So that is Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. With that, I will end. If there is any questions, any further deliberations, Brajapati Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very interesting. Is chanting Hare Krishna mantra with attention as good as meditating on the all-blissful two-handed form of the personality of Godhead?
That's what my understanding is, because even Krishna, we know that Kali Kala Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. So Krishna comes in the form of his name. So that statement then will become void, because, and then there's this Nam Nam Akari Bhau Janija Sarva Saktis, under the 8 Shastakam, that in the name all my potency is invested. So when you're actually chanting, you are actually meditating on the Lord. That's my understanding. I am not I'm a neophyte in this, but my understanding is that in the Nam is all the strength.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, today is the appearance day of Narottam Das Thakur. Maybe can you say something on that?
Yes,
subject?
I didn't realize that today was Narottam Das Thakur. We know that Narottam Das Thakur is one of our, falls within our parampara, is one of our saints in the parampara. But Narottam Das Thakur is also composed, most of the songs that we sing are actually composed by Narottam Das Thakur also. So, in addition to that, I didn't do too much research on Narottam Das Thakur, but one other thing that we have to know about Narottam Das Thakur is his simplicity, because you can see his simplicity also in the way he's composing the songs. Now I know that your name is also very close, but I didn't prepare too much on Narottam Das Thakur. I prepared more on the conclusion of the. But Brajapati Prabhu can speak more, or Sura Prabhu has already left.
Introduction to the first songbook.
Yes.
Prabhupada wrote the foreword or the introduction, and he said that Narottam Das's songs were as good as Vedic mantras. Now you mentioned and he made that point, same point you made. They're written in simple Bengali language, but they're considered by the acharyas as good as Vedic mantras. So he was, very elevated personality.
Thank you. Anyone else has to add something? This is a very special week because we have been going through Lord Vara, we have been going through Lord Nityananda, Narottam Das Thakur, we had Ekadashi, so we're getting a lot of spiritual. So if someone says, I'm not enthusiastic, I don't know where you need to be. Yes, Bhakti Siddhanta. So, we are going through, and I like to mention, I know that yesterday we got some sad news also, about Punyatma Prabhu. Now I remember two things about Punyatma Prabhu. One was whenever I came to the temple and I will see him sitting where Mataji is sitting, he's chanting, the way he chanted and he concentrated on that Naam was special. When he chanted, he used to chant very clearly, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Actually, you can hear the temple room. And I remember that very vividly because Brajapati Prabhu brought the point about is chanting the same as seeing the Lord. So he used to chant and he used to see the Lord, so he was actually getting two. And I remember whenever he used to meet me outside, he was so humble. He will always tell me, glories to your service. And I was told that at one time he was the number one book distributor. So the number one book distributor during Srila Prabhupada's time is actually telling you glories on your service. So that showed humbleness. So
something that I can remember about him is that in these few last years, he was so absorbed about creating a group of devotees, the chant, and he was encouraging to, chant Hare Krishna, and he will describe in long terms how the holy name of the Lord will be vibrating the whole universe, and every will be benefited. And every time I will meet him, like next week, he will say the same thing. And the next month, he will say the same thing. So he was definitely absorbed in seeing how the holy name of the Lord is so powerful. He will say so powerful that it can create auspiciousness in the whole universe, and everybody will get the benefit. So Punjatma Das Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai.
I think Brajapati Prabhu wanted to say
I
something.
mean, since you opened this, so you mentioned about
Yes,
in 1978, I was transferred from New York Temple to Australia, and they sent me via London, and I was there for 3 weeks. And every day I got to go out with a different Sankirtan devotee, and he was one of them. At that time, him and a devotee named Ankota were the number 1 and 2 book distributors, definitely in the United Kingdom, possibly in the world. I didn't keep close track, and that wasn't just that 1 year. He was the opposite of self-conscious. He was like totally a ball of fire. It was a pleasure, amazing going out with him. He was just like so bold and enthusiastic. And, London's not an easy place to do Sankirtan. The people are like a stampede. But he would just somehow or another stop them and get him to take a book, get him to give a donation. I mean, I got to see him in his best days. Here, unfortunately, we weren't seeing him in his best days. And he was a very powerful preacher for many, many years. He had problems with his marriage and then got depressed and different things happened. But he's a very solid Prabhupada man. Every time you talk to him, as you said, he's always glorifying the other devotees, glorifying Prabhupada. We all have our ups and downs, but he was definitely dedicated to Prabhupada, heart and soul.
That was very encouraging. So, we had that sad news, but it was also on a very auspicious day, leaving a body on the appearance day of Lord Nityananda in itself is very auspicious. Punyatma Prabhu ki.